decrypting the evidence the public never saw. You are watching Bodycam Story Vault. Prepare yourself.
I'm sorry. Is there a problem here?
Need to see some ID?
I'm putting groceries in my own car. I'm not showing you shit.
Sir, I need you to step away from the vehicle and show me some identification.
You're new, aren't you? What's your badge number?
Excuse me? I'm asking the questions here.
I'm Marcus Patterson. Your new chief of police. Started Monday.
The gold badge emerged from Chief Marcus Patterson's back pocket at 3:47 p.m. in a Vons parking lot. Officer Kyle Jennings, badge number 4892 with 6 months on the force, had been demanding identification from a black man loading groceries into a Mercedes. He hadn't offered a greeting, hadn't explained why he was there, had simply walked up with his hand near his belt and said, "Need to see some ID." Patterson had responded the way any citizen might. "I'm putting groceries in my own car. I'm not showing you shit." But Patterson wasn't any citizen. He was the new chief of police. 2 weeks into a job he'd been recruited for specifically because Riverside PD had a racial profiling problem. A problem that one of his own officers was demonstrating in real time. "I'm Marcus Patterson, your new chief of police. Started Monday." The body cam captured Jennings's face draining of color. Captured his mouth opening and closing without words. Captured the moment a 6-month career ended in a grocery store parking lot. "What was your probable cause for approaching me?" We got a call about a suspicious what? What was the description?" A black male in the parking lot." "That's not a description, officer. That's a demographic." Jennings was terminated and permanently decertified. The 911 caller, Margaret Thornton, who had reported a black man at a really nice car, was identified when her call was released. The bodycam footage went viral. 40 million views. Training video at police academies nationwide. And a chief who proved that reform starts wherever you find the problem, even in a parking lot on your first weekend off. Subscribe to the channel. These stories matter. Saturday afternoon in Riverside. Chief Marcus Patterson's first weekend off since starting his new command. 2 weeks of 18-hour days. Meetings, press conferences, policy reviews, meet and greets with department leadership. The work of taking over a police department that had made national news for all the wrong reasons. His wife Denise was working a shift at the ER. His son was back at UCLA. His daughter was at a friend's house. Half their boxes still sat unpacked in the living room. Patterson decided to do something normal. Grocery shopping. Their first real dinner in the new home. He drove his black Mercedes GLE to the Vons on Magnolia Avenue. Filled his cart with steaks, vegetables, his daughter's favorite snacks. Walked to his car and began loading bags into the trunk. The simple pleasure of anonymity. No one knew who he was yet. Just a man buying groceries. He didn't notice Margaret Thornton watching from 3 rows over. 62 years old. Concerned citizen. Reaching for her phone. 911. "What's your emergency?" "There's a black man in the parking lot. He's at a really nice car. I don't think he belongs here. Can you send someone?" No description of clothing. No description of behavior. No crime alleged. Just black man at nice car. Officer Kyle Jennings received the dispatch at 3:43 p.m. 6 months on the force. Still in his probationary period. He had never met the new chief in person. Patterson's department-wide introduction was scheduled for Monday. Jennings found the caller's description easily enough. Black male. Mercedes. Loading groceries. He approached with his hand near his belt. Patterson had a bag in each hand when the officer walked up. No greeting. No courtesy. Just demands. "Need to see some ID." Patterson set down a bag. Confused. Processing. "I'm sorry, is there a problem here?" "Need to see some ID." Patterson's eyebrows rose. 22 years of law enforcement experience registering exactly what was happening. "I'm putting groceries in my own car. I'm not showing you shit." Jennings stepped closer. "Sir, I need you to step away from the vehicle and show me some identification." Patterson studied the officer. The posture. The aggression. The complete absence of anything resembling probable cause or reasonable suspicion. "You're new, aren't you? What's your badge number?" Jennings's expression shifted. Confused. Defensive. "Excuse me? I'm asking the questions here." Patterson reached slowly into his back pocket. Jennings tensed. But it wasn't a wallet that emerged. Gold. Heavy. The chief of police shield he had carried every day since starting. "I'm Marcus Patterson, your new chief of police. Started Monday." He held the badge where the body cam could capture it clearly. You and I are going to have a real long conversation about your future in my department. The color drained from Jennings's face. His mouth opened, closed. No words emerged. Patterson didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. What's your name, officer? Jennings, sir. Officer Kyle Jennings. Officer Jennings. What was your probable cause for approaching me? We got a call about a suspicious. A suspicious what? What was the description? A black male in the parking lot. That's not a description, officer. That's a demographic. What was he doing? What was he wearing? What crime was he committing? Silence. I had keys in my hand. I was loading groceries. I was doing exactly what 100 other people in this parking lot are doing right now. What made me suspicious? Jennings had no answer. Because there was no answer. Because the only difference between Patterson and those 100 other shoppers was the color of his skin. I want you to understand something, Officer Jennings. I was brought here specifically because this department has a racial profiling problem. I took this job to fix it. And 2 weeks in, one of my own officers just proved exactly why I'm needed. Shoppers had begun to gather. The particular magnetism of a confrontation in a public space. Several phones rose. Recording. A Vaughn's employee came outside to watch. Additional witnesses to supplement the body cam. What did you see when you looked at me? Be honest. Jennings stammered. The confession coming despite his attempt to avoid it. A black man, at a nice car. A black man at a nice car. And that was enough. It didn't matter that I had keys. That I was loading groceries. That I was doing exactly what every other shopper here was doing. You saw a black man at a Mercedes and you decided I didn't belong. Sir, I was just responding to a call. A call you should have recognized as unfounded the moment you saw me. That's your job. To assess. Evaluate. Use judgment. Not to harass citizens because someone's bias told them to call 911. Patterson's voice remained level throughout. The quiet authority more devastating than any shouting. 22 years of commanding officers. 22 years of knowing exactly how to deliver correction. Your body cam is running. Good. That footage is now evidence. You're going to stand right here while I call your supervisor. He pulled out his personal phone. What's your sergeant's number? Jennings provided it. His hands were shaking. Patterson dialed. The call connected. Sergeant Morrison? This is Chief Patterson. Yes, the new chief. I'm in the Vaughn's parking lot on Magnolia Avenue. One of your officers just approached me while I was loading groceries into my car and demanded ID based solely on my race. He paused. Officer Jennings. Yes, I'll hold. The wait lasted 4 minutes. Patterson stood in the parking lot of a grocery store, his groceries half loaded, his weekend off evaporating, while the chain of command mobilized. Sergeant Morrison arrived first, then a lieutenant, then a captain. The entire supervisory structure responding to the worst possible scenario. Their new chief, hired to fix racial profiling, racially profiled by their own officer. Sergeant David Morrison's face showed the particular horror of someone realizing the magnitude of a situation. Chief Patterson, I am so sorry. Don't apologize to me, Sergeant. Apologize to every citizen who got this same treatment and didn't have a badge to pull out. Lieutenant Catherine Park arrived 3 minutes later. Then Captain Robert Tran. The parking lot filling with command staff. Patterson addressed them as a group. I want Officer Jennings's body cam footage preserved immediately. I want the 911 call pulled. I want a full internal affairs investigation opened before end of shift. And I want a meeting with all supervisory staff at 0800 Monday morning. Yes, sir. This isn't about me. I want that understood. If Officer Jennings had stopped any other citizen this way, the outcome should be the same. That's the point. That's what we're fixing. He looked at Jennings, who stood frozen near his patrol car. Officer Jennings, you are relieved of duty pending investigation. Surrender your weapon and badge to Sergeant Morrison. You'll be contacted by Internal Affairs within 48 hours. Sir, there's nothing you can say right now that will help your situation. I advise you to cooperate fully with the investigation and consult your union representative. Jennings handed over his weapon, his badge, the items that had represented his career 6 months ago. Patterson turned to Captain Tran. Who trained him? FTO Rodriguez, sir. I'll pull the records. Do that. I want to know what indicators were there. What was missed? What allowed this to happen? He looked at the assembled supervisors. This department has a problem. I knew that when I took the job. What I didn't expect was to experience it personally 2 weeks in. That tells me the problem is worse than the report suggested. He paused. Monday morning. 0800. Everyone from sergeant and above. We're going to discuss exactly what kind of department this is going to be under my command. The supervisors departed to execute their chief's orders. Jennings was escorted from the scene. The shoppers dispersed. Patterson stood alone by his Mercedes. Groceries still half-loaded. Weekend still ruined. His phone buzzed. Text from his wife. How's the shopping going? He stared at the message. Considered how to respond. Got stopped by one of my own officers. Story when I get home. Her response came immediately. What? I'm fine. Just got a lot of work to do. He finished loading the groceries. Drove home. The stakes would wait for another weekend. The investigation began within hours. The internal affairs investigation moved with the urgency that comes when the chief is the victim. Officer Jennings's bodycam footage was reviewed frame by frame. The approach with no greeting. The immediate demand for identification. The failure to articulate any legitimate basis for the stop. Need to see some ID. No explanation. No reasonable suspicion. No probable cause. The 911 call was pulled and transcribed. 911. What's your emergency? There's a black man in the parking lot. He's at a really nice car. I don't think he belongs here. Can you send someone? Can you describe him? He's black. Wearing a blue shirt, I think. Loading things into a Mercedes. Is he doing anything illegal? Well, no, but I just don't think he belongs there. The call contained no allegation of criminal activity. No description that would distinguish the subject from any other shopper. Nothing except skin color and vehicle type. Officer Jennings should have recognized the call as unfounded the moment he observed Patterson. Keys in hand. Groceries being loaded. The behavior of ownership, not theft. His personnel file revealed the pattern that should have been addressed months earlier. For prior complaints during his 6 months on the force. 3 from minority citizens alleging unnecessary stops. 1 from a supervisor noting aggressive demeanor during citizen contacts. His field training officer, Rodriguez, had documented concerns. Officer Jennings demonstrates potential bias indicators during field contacts. Recommends enhanced supervision and additional training before solo assignment. The recommendation had been noted. Never implemented. Jennings had been released to solo patrol with bias concerns documented but unaddressed. Stop data analysis completed the picture. During his 6 months, Jennings had conducted 47 discretionary stops. 34, 72%, had targeted minority citizens. His white colleagues averaged 31% minority stops in the same patrol area. The disparity was statistically significant. The pattern was clear. Additional review revealed that Jennings had been hired during the same period of misconduct that had led to Chief Patterson being recruited. Product of a broken culture. Trained by officers who had normalized exactly the kind of profiling he had demonstrated. The evidence was comprehensive. Bodycam footage documenting the violation. 911 call proving the unfounded basis. Personnel records showing ignored warnings. Stop data revealing discriminatory pattern. The investigation concluded within 72 hours. Officer Kyle Jennings had violated department policy on reasonable suspicion, courtesy and professionalism, bias-free policing, and conduct unbecoming. Recommendation: termination and referral to California Post for decertification. Chief Patterson reviewed the findings. Made his decision. Scheduled a press conference for Wednesday morning. The press conference was held in the Riverside Police Department briefing room. Every local news outlet attended. Several national correspondents had flown in overnight. A black police chief, hired to fix racial profiling, racially profiled by his own officer in his first 2 weeks. The story had already spread across social media. Chief Patterson stood at the podium in full dress uniform. 3 days ago, I was loading groceries into my car in a Vons parking lot when one of my officers approached me and demanded identification. He offered no greeting, no explanation, no legitimate basis for the contact. He simply saw a black man at a nice car and decided that required investigation. He paused. I have been in law enforcement for 22 years. I have conducted thousands of citizen contacts. I know what proper procedure looks like. This wasn't it. He outlined the investigation findings without editorializing. The 911 call, the bodycam footage, the personnel records, the stop data. Officer Kyle Jennings will be terminated from the Riverside Police Department effective immediately. The room stirred. He is being terminated not because he stopped me, but because his stop exemplified exactly the kind of bias-based policing this department is committed to eliminating. Had he stopped any citizen this way, the outcome would be the same. He looked directly at the cameras. I could have been anyone. A doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, a father just trying to buy groceries for his family. And Officer Jennings would have treated them exactly the same way. That's not policing. That's profiling. And it ends now, in my department. Questions erupted. Patterson answered each one calmly. Chief Patterson, do you believe this reflects a systemic problem? The data suggests it does. Officer Jennings's stop rate for minorities was more than double the department average. That pattern didn't develop in isolation. What changes are you implementing? Comprehensive retraining on bias-free policing. A new early intervention system to identify concerning patterns before they become entrenched. Enhanced field training officer oversight. And accountability, real accountability, when violations occur. What about the 911 caller? She has been identified. I have declined to pursue charges. She is a symptom, not the disease. Our focus is on fixing the systems that allowed this to happen. The press conference lasted 45 minutes. The footage would be viewed millions of times in the following weeks. California Post received the referral that afternoon. Their investigation was routine. The evidence was overwhelming. Officer Kyle Jennings was permanently decertified within 60 days. He could never work in law enforcement in California again. The Monday meeting at 0800 lasted 3 hours. Every supervisor from sergeant and above. 87 officers in the main briefing room. Chief Patterson at the podium with his experience and his authority and the memory of kneeling metaphorically in a parking lot while one of his own officers demanded his papers. I want to show you something. The Bodycam footage played on the main screen. Every officer watched their new chief get stopped for loading groceries. Need to see some ID. I'm putting groceries in my own car. I'm not showing you shit. The moment Patterson pulled his badge, the moment Jennings understood his career was over. This is what we're fixing. This is why I'm here. And this is the standard we're going to meet, starting today. The retraining program was comprehensive. Bias-free policing modules. Scenario-based training. Review of reasonable suspicion and probable cause standards. A new early intervention system was implemented. Stop data would be analyzed monthly. Officers showing statistical anomalies would receive supervisory review before patterns became entrenched. Field training officer protocols were revised. The concerns documented about Jennings, concerns that had been ignored, would now trigger mandatory intervention. The 911 call became part of the training curriculum. There's a black man in the parking lot. He's at a really nice car. I don't think he belongs here. Officers learn to recognize unfounded calls, to assess situations based on behavior, not demographics, to exercise the judgment that Jennings had failed to demonstrate. The results emerged over the following year. Racial profiling complaints decreased 60%. Community trust surveys showed significant improvement. Stop data showed more proportional enforcement across demographics. The culture was changing, not because of one incident, but because one incident had been handled correctly. Because accountability meant something. Because the chief had experienced what his citizens experienced and had used that experience to drive reform. Patterson's Bodycam moment went viral. 40 million views across platforms. Police academies across the country requested permission to use it as training material. He testified before the California State Legislature on racial profiling. His recommendations became the foundation for statewide reforms. The parking lot where it happened now has a small plaque near the spot where he was stopped. Installed by the community. Reading, where change began. Kyle Jennings never spoke publicly about the incident. His termination was reported in local news. His decertification was recorded in state databases. His law enforcement career ended at 6 months. He found work as a security guard at a warehouse distribution center. Night shifts. Minimal contact with the public. The kind of job that required a warm body and little else. His field training officer, Rodriguez, received a formal reprimand for failing to escalate documented concerns. He remained on the force, but was removed from training duties. Margaret Thornton, the 911 caller, faced social media backlash when her call was released. No criminal charges, as Patterson had declined to pursue them. But her name became attached to the incident permanently. She sold her house 3 months later, moved to Arizona, The neighborhood she had tried to protect from people who didn't belong was unchanged by her departure. Chief Marcus Patterson completed his first year in Riverside with the highest community approval rating in department history. California named him Police Chief of the Year. His wife Denise framed the grocery receipt from that day, $127.43 at Vaughn's, and hung it in his home office. She added a handwritten note. The most expensive groceries in history. Patterson kept it there. A reminder of what had happened, of why the work mattered, of the moment that had transformed his understanding of the job he had taken. I knew there was a problem, he told his wife one evening. I'd seen the reports, the complaints, the data, but knowing it intellectually is different from experiencing it personally. How so? When Jennings walked up to me, I felt it. The way citizens feel it. The way they've always felt it. The helplessness. The anger. The knowledge that nothing you say will matter because they've already decided who you are. He looked at the framed receipt. I was lucky. I had a badge to pull out. Most people don't. That's why you took the job. That's why I'm going to finish it. His son came home from UCLA for winter break. Asked about the parking lot incident everyone at school had seen online. Were you scared, Dad? Patterson considered the question. Not scared. Disappointed. That one of my own officers could look at me and see only a black man who didn't belong in a nice car. That all my training, all my experience, all my years of service, none of it was visible to him. Just the skin. What did you do? What I always do. Stayed calm. Documented. Followed procedure. And made sure it never happens to anyone else. The Vaughn's parking lot on Magnolia Avenue returned to normal within days of the incident. Shoppers loading groceries. Cars pulling in and out. The ordinary business of suburban life. Chief Patterson still shopped there. The same parking lot. The same store. He refused to let the incident change his routine. If I avoid it, they win, he told his daughter. The point is that I can shop anywhere. Load groceries anywhere. Exist anywhere. That's what we're fighting for. The plaque appeared 6 months after the incident. Small bronze marker near the spot where Jennings had approached him. Installed by the community association without asking permission. Where change began. Patterson saw it for the first time on a Saturday afternoon. Loading groceries, as he had been that day. He stood and read the words. His phone buzzed. Text from Captain Tran. Community installed something in the Vaughn's lot. Have you seen it? Looking at it now. What do you think? Patterson considered the question. The parking lot. The plaque. The journey from that moment to this one. I think it's not where change began. It's where change became visible. He finished loading his groceries. Drove home to his family. The stakes were better this time. The case file remains in department records. Case number, IA 2025-0017. Subject, bias-based policing, violation of reasonable suspicion standards, conduct unbecoming. Location, Vaughn's Market, 4500, Magnolia Avenue, Riverside, California. Outcome, termination. Permanent decertification. Departmental reform. Statewide training adoption. Principle established. Every citizen deserves the same treatment, regardless of what they drive, where they shop, or what they look like. The badge doesn't make you immune to profiling, but it does give you the power to fix the system that produces it. Chief Marcus Patterson proved that principle the only way available. By staying calm when confronted. By pulling out his badge. By following procedure. By reforming the department that had humiliated him. 3 years later, he remains chief. The parking lot remains ordinary. The work continues. Some changes begin with paperwork. Some begin with press conferences. Some begin with a black man loading groceries into his own car and an officer who couldn't see past the skin to the shield. The shield is visible now. The department is different now. And the groceries, $127.43, framed on his wall, remind him every day why the work matters.
Every entry confirms a reality. We value your viewership. Subscribe to remain securely inside the vault.